I'd like to welcome this morning BillBurt from the Eagle Tribune.
So we're here to talk about the New England Revolution.
Yeah, first and last place.
Yeah, they're not a bad team, by the way. That's a whole other story, soccer. All right, so we probably should be talking Red Sox right now.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was asked several months ago by Nisha, I'm thinking probably talking Red Sox in the playoffs. And now I was down at Fenway yesterday, just to let you know what the Red Sox are like. They said there's a media day. They played in Cleveland Sunday, lost all 3 games in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And so Monday, usually the players come back in and get their stuff and they head home. So we're down there. I was told to be there 11:30 to 12:30. I was there 11:30 sharp. There's 30 to 40 media people in the clubhouse, which is probably about twice as big as this room. Another room over here. And we waited 1 hour and not one player showed up. They got out of Dodge. So I was down there for an hour waiting, and yeah, very disappointing. Though I will say, let's be honest, it was an interesting month. You know, with yeah, you could even argue 2 months. There's some interest there, and we'll probably, you know, it's going to be something to look forward to next year. There is something to work with the Red Sox. It looks like they got some young guys that want to play. Now they also got a couple of lugheads on the team. Yeah, well, we could talk about, you know, Hanley Ramirez for a second. I'm still in shock. Who wanted this guy? I want to know. I want the Red Sox employee's name who said, we got to have that guy. I want him to have to explain himself, because I still don't get the move. I didn't get it when they made it. It reminded me of the guy they got from Tampa Bay, remember, a few years earlier. Free agent, left fielder, whose name escapes me here. Yeah, Jesus. And honestly, it was, but it was strange. It was a guy they didn't really need.
Carl Crawford.
Oh yeah, Mr. Crawford. It was a guy they didn't really need, and they got him because he was there, I guess. Why did the man climb the mountain? Because it was there. So the Red Sox, why did they sign this free agent? Because he was there. So very awkward, and it really sent the Red Sox into a tailspin all year, because they didn't know how to deal with this guy. Very difficult kid. He was difficult when he was here with the Red Sox. That's why they got rid of him. Not a guy that could control in the minor leagues. Got in trouble. Just a hard guy to coach. It's the worst thing you can be, is uncoachable. And you know, we could turn that around to the Patriots, which we'll get into in a minute. When you're uncoachable, you're gone. In baseball, it's a little different. It seems like that's the nature of the business. More guys, you know, their personalities, you could say, are don't really adjust to other people. And there's people like, again, Hanley Ramirez, not a bad guy. You could argue, I guess, even Manny Ramirez, of the same namesake, not a bad guy. But guys that don't really get the team aspect of what they're doing. It is an individual sport. I have a son. I brought it up. I think through the years, you know, he's in Little League, he's in high school, now he's at Northeastern University playing baseball. He's on a team with 35 guys. They have 35. 17 pitchers, 18 fielders. And talk about personalities and trying to get everyone on the same page. It's really hard. And it's harder than football, which is, I think, the goal is for one. In baseball, it's get your stats up, do your job in a different way, and then let's try to win a game. It's not winning first. So, and I go through it with my son, who's, you know, baseball is really hard. Football's different though, and that's why I want to talk about the Patriots, because.
What do you think the Red Sox will unload this year?
They're going to try. They're going to try to get rid of probably the third baseman and a
lot of money they got to.
Yeah, well, they're going to try to get rid of Hanley Ramirez, because this team. Here's what the Red Sox showed. They showed some athleticism, some youth. They showed some fire. I think what we've seen is the new captain of the team, who I always thought it was going to be Pedroia at this time. It's Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop, who's got a little, sort of like a little Derek Jeter in him, in a sense where not a big power hitter, good average, very good fielder, great guy. He's only 23 years old.
Just turned 23.
Yeah, this is a rare kid. I remember him when they won the World Series. He had just turned 20 or 19, and very mature, very well spoken, knows 3 languages. It's funny, I get a great story, and I've told you guys before, one of the best events I've ever covered over my career was the Little League World Series, 1988. And I covered Andover, who had gone, when it was hard. It was the Northeast back then. But I bring up Xander Bogaerts because he said the biggest failing in his life was they lost in the finals to go to Little League World Series when he was 12. He was on, I forget the island, the Caribbean island, but they lost to Curacao, and Curacao went and they lost. And he said to this day, he still hasn't gotten over it. I guess he made an error in the field and they lost the game. But great, this is a different kid. He's 23. And what he's shown over the last season is he can handle playing in Boston. I think that's really a problem. It's not easy. It really isn't easy. We see the guy at third base this year, and we got him from San Francisco as a free agent. Good guy, a good teammate for the most part, but you know what? Obviously, he has a weight issue. You figure a guy signs a big contract, he might have a little pride and lose a little weight. He went the other way, and they call him the panda bear for a reason, I guess. So the Red Sox, they got a lot to figure out, and they get but those are the 2 problems. It's third base and it's left field, because they got kids and they could get a free agent to fill third base easy. The left fielder, they don't need him. They just don't need Manny Ramirez. Hanley Ramirez. They don't need him. There's no place to put him, and again, hard guy to deal with. His problem, and I will tell you from the inside route, is that he just didn't want to work to learn left field. Didn't put the time in, which is what they needed him to do. A guy takes a new position. But I don't blame him, because he is who he is. The Red Sox knew who he was. That's why he left. That's why they traded Josh Beckett. Believe it or not, that was the Josh Beckett trade. His problem is he's uncoachable. So then you bring in a guy who had never played left field before and say he's going to be our left fielder. I just thought that was weird. Now, my thinking is, well, they might know something more than I do. They might know, we sometimes give in to these guys. That's what they do. Well, I think we were right. I don't know what they were thinking, and it cost Ben Cherington his job. Not only finishing in last place, but sort of the malaise of the team. So it's going to be interesting what happens there. You asked me who I think Hanley's gone. This new, interesting, it's an interesting development with the Red Sox. I personally, I believe they're going through a metamorphosis where I think 2 or 3 years from now, I think they brought in this new general manager and president, Dave Dombrowski, who's a baseball guy, not a business guy. Larry Lucchino was a businessman first, baseball man second. This guy is a baseball man. They hired someone to handle the business side, Sam Kennedy, who's with the Red Sox, one of the nicest guys I know, great guy, but he's going to handle the business side. So it tells me something's going on here. I believe the Red Sox are setting themselves up for 2 or 3 years from now, maybe even sooner, of selling the team. Because I think what we saw with John Henry, the owner, and I think we're going to find out more probably over the next 6 months from Ben Cherington, is the owner had his hand in some of the player acquisitions. Maybe even the third baseman, maybe even the left fielder. That's what happens when you're a billionaire and you look at the sport sometimes as fantasy football or baseball. They look at fantasy. As we know, the owner of the Red Sox, very close with this guy, Bill James. Bill James is the king of baseball stats, has been for his entire life, out of Kansas City, Missouri. And what we've seen is the owner and him were close. And we saw a couple of things about the Red Sox this year. They didn't have an ace. Remember how they went with 5 good pitchers? Well, that's a theory that this Bill James has. You don't need an ace. You need 5 good pitchers. Well, In Boston, you need an ace. In Boston, you need tough people mentally because we're crazy. You guys are crazy. And you see the fans at games, there's 36,000 people at a game in May. In Tampa, there's 5. In Cleveland, there's 6. In Colorado, there's 12. In Boston, there's 36. And there's 36 June 1st and July 1st. So we're all managers. I mean, I think you're a former, Casco is your name? The point is, we're part of the process. That's why it's not easy in Boston. So here's my overall point. I think the owner, he's been here now. Look, got to give them credit. Fenway is it's unbelievable what they've done to Fenway. It went from being a dump, and remember, the Red Sox were run by a trust, and when you're owned by a trust, there's really no impetus for improving. The trust makes money, everyone does their job, you go home. Well, these profit mavens come in, these guys that bought the team for $750 million, worth over $2 billion right now, so it was a good investment. So these guys come in, they buy the team, and they go, we gotta improve this place. It's dead around here. So they literally, 60% of Fenway in the back was unused. Now it's, there's picnic benches, bars up top, underneath there's concession stands. So look, what they've done is amazing. 3 championships in 12 years. They came here in 2001, 2002, so 13 years. Got to give them all the credit in the world. But now he's going through where he was in control. He had a kid, Ben Cherington, remember a kid, Theo Epstein, where I think we found out that this management played a role, and I'm talking the upper management, like the owners, played a role in the player acquisition. And I think now, we saw this with Bob Kraft in football. Remember, he brings in Pete Carroll, and then they have a GM who's weak, Bobby Greer, and the owner apparently is sort of, hey, why are we picking this guy? He's involved in the player part of the game, which is wrong. And then they bring in Bill Belichick, owner steps back, you do your thing. I think that's what the Red Sox are doing right now. They're letting Dave Dombrowski do his thing. And it's funny, guy comes in and, all of a sudden, people are held accountable, and look what happens. The team really looked like one of the best teams in baseball. Not the best, but one of the better teams in baseball. They still have a ways to go, but I like what I see. Dave Dombrowski is a professional. I was struck by him 2 years ago when the Red Sox beat them in the World Series in 2013. He comes to every game with his wife, and they sit in the 4th row in the stands. He doesn't sit in the press box. Now, he's been in the press box a lot at Fenway, but when I say the press box, is an owner's box and GM. But he goes to the field, he's there, he travels with the team. It's meaningful, and the players sense that I gotta bring something to the table, because in baseball, you play 162 games, you can get very laissez-faire. I'm fine, I got the 6-year contract. It doesn't happen with this guy, so I didn't mean to come here and talk a lot about baseball, but I do love it. It's my favorite sport, per se. I love the game, and I believe the Red Sox are on the right track. I believe this guy, Dombrowski, was in to turn it around, and I think the owner and his fantasy rotisserie, whatever we want to call this baseball, is over. And I think now we're going to be a baseball team again.
Will they sign a high-priced pitcher?
Well, yes, and they know. I think he's
They want
basically,
price, right.
he's got the budget. See, they don't now, here's the issue. The team was bought for $750 million. They're worth, I think, almost $2 billion. So they can lose money and overpay, which is what they might do with this David Price. And here's a funny story, okay? David Price is probably one of the free agents. They say Sonny Gray, another free agent with Oakland. These are 2 guys that are going to be available. And this is where I come in. The Red Sox play Northeastern in baseball. First game. They always pitch their best pitcher the first 2 innings. My son right now is the leadoff hitter for Northeastern. So my son could be going against David Price first at bat. So we're getting ready for it. I've already shown him tape. We got to hit this guy. He's going about 100 miles an hour. So, but the Red Sox are going to be interesting here, and they're going to be fun. I don't know. It's funny. Pedroia. you know, is he a necessity? You know, they sort of went through this little metamorphosis and looked pretty damn good without Pedroia. I'm a Pedroia guy. I like the grit. I would keep him. I think he's a good mix. You can't have all these 23, 24, 25, 25. You need a guy who's won MVP. He's won 2 championships. He was there in 2007, 2013. Ortiz has another year. Ortiz hit all his numbers, so he's here next year. I'm waiting for him to cry about his contract. Don't worry, it's going to come in a couple weeks. He's going to want the contract for the next year, but I'm optimistic about the Red Sox. I really like what I see, and the manager's going to be interesting because they're
set. They're all set with it now.
Well, the only thing with the manager is, you know, he's had this cancer and it's treatable and it looks like he's going to be okay. But you know, the bench coach Torey Lovullo, who replaced him, went on this little roll, and all of a sudden, I think they liked what they saw, and I think the general manager liked what they saw.
He's committed to stay now.
Well, he's committed to. He said he won't go for a job, which is odd.
Yeah.
How do you tell a guy who's a bench coach not to go for a major league job? They gave him a 2-year deal. They gave him a nice little bonus.
That's how you tell him.
It tells me though that he's sort of the guy in waiting, and if they struggle, if they go 2-5, new manager coming in. So, but here's the good news. I think we're gonna get back to baseball. It's been sort of crazy, Bobby Valentine, and you know, it's been too much sort of funny business. And I think they got a direction, and they hired the right guy. This guy reminds me of Belichick. It's business. We're going to run a business the way it's supposed to be, and this is baseball. We're going to, when you know, there's no Lucchino coming in, and there's no gorilla suits or whatever it is that what's his name wore. This is serious. And it's funny. I was down at Fenway yesterday. I told you guys. And I sent a tweet. They're already lining the field for the BC Notre Dame football game, and the field is going to go from the bullpens to the opposing team's dugout. It's weird. There's barely enough room. I mean, someone's going to catch a touchdown pass and run into the bullpen, or the dugout. Yes. So, but the Red Sox are going to be interesting. So I'm very optimistic, and I'm optimistic for the most part, but I'm very optimistic.
Just one question. What's your take on Tito?
Francona?
Yes.
I liked him. I'm not as high on him as a lot of people have been or are. Look, he's gone to a good situation in Cleveland. They're respectable, which you can say a lot, but now go back to back here at Fenway and the Red Sox. I think, you know, I don't think he was treated properly at the end.
Was he allowed to manage?
No, that's part of the problem. I think the funny business is Lucchino. Lucchino's got his hands in everything, and I like Larry Lucchino because I think when you look at the Red Sox and the success they've had off the field and on the field, how do you doubt 3 championships and after none in '86? I mean, you guys went through, I mean, your whole lives. Hey, can't wait till next year, and you'd say that though in May of next year, rooting for the next year. So you got to give them credit, but the team fell apart there. If you remember, that was the chicken and beer team. That was Lucchino's team. No, sorry, that was Francona's team. And my only issue was the players didn't respect Francona enough to really not do some bad, dumb things. And for a guy, if he was as respected as I think he should be or was. That shocked me. That surprised me. So he is a good manager. He's a smart guy. He plays off dumb. You know, he plays I'm a dummy. These self-deprecating humor. But he's a lifelong baseball guy. His father father played in the majors a long time. He was in the majors a long time for a really not a good player, average player. And you saw what the Red Sox did. I mean, he turned. They won the World Series his first year after Grady Little's debacle in New York. So you got to give him, I got to give him credit. Part of this, and I will give, Theo Epstein said it, and it makes me appreciate what's happening in Foxborough. But he said, after 10 years, it's just sometimes time to move on. You know, it's just, that's the way it is, and, which brings us to Foxborough.
Yeah, no, there is, that's right.
And we're on 15 years, Brady and Belichick. That's not normal.
Okay.
Usually, the Brady character in that play would say, I don't want this guy on my rear end anymore. I'm the guy. I want the money. But he and Brady, Belichick and Brady, have come to this agreement, whether it's verbal or mental, where I respect you, you respect me, we're going to help each other, and they both realize that we're probably the best tandem that's ever played this game, football. And you know, maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, Bart Starr and Lombardi was only in Denver 7, 8 years, so we don't want to make it like,
Denver.
yeah, it was like
Green Bay.
Green Bay, sorry.
Yeah.
Only there 7, 8 years, because you got him and Bart Starr, you sort of look at them as together for 30 years. This Brady-Belichick thing, and the respect, mutual respect, and the fact that Brady's ego, you know, basically, he was on the radio yesterday, someone asked him, do you ever really disagree with what Belichick did, vehemently disagree with him and go the other way? And he goes, you know what, I don't think I ever did that. I don't think I ever did it, which tells me the respect he has for Belichick. I do know Belichick respects him too, and knows that his meal ticket, let me put it this way, Joe Morgan, former Red Sox manager, who I'm going to golf with tomorrow, he only plays 9 holes, he's a member of Walpole Country Club, and every time he speaks, people want to ask him, how was Roger Clemens? And he goes, I'll tell you one thing, Roger Clemens put a lot of money in this thing, I'm not going to say anything bad about it. And it's true. So, you know what? The Brady-Belichick thing is special, and I don't want to say we don't appreciate it, because no one ever does when it's over, but we're going to really look at this 10 and 20 years, hopefully, for us in this room, and say, hey, we saw, you know, this is sort of the Babe Ruth of our time, that relationship of those two. It's special, and that's why I'm going to this season. You know, the irony is when you win a Super Bowl, the bullseye's on you, and every team you play wants to kill you. What's happened this year is, because of what happened in the offseason, it doesn't feel like the Patriots, it feels like the Patriots are putting the bullseye in every team every week, and it's like, we forget that they won the Super Bowl, and they're hungrier, maybe you could argue hungrier this year than they were last year. Because in football, that's the problem. To win a Super Bowl, you give so much of yourself, off-season, dedication, training, your family sort of becomes secondary for a while. And after you win the Super Bowl, you're, all right, I'm going to go back to being normal again. I'm not going to be this rabid, sick, Belichick-loving guy. I'm going to enjoy myself, and we'll give a good effort, and we'll make a good run. This year, it's not like that at all. And it's probably because of Deflategate. The Patriots are, they're driven like no other. And I was just talking earlier, the Patriots are better now than they were a year ago. And now there's things that could happen. As we see, Dallas has lost their 3 best players because of injury. Brady goes down, but Brady doesn't get hurt because Brady doesn't do the crazy things other quarterbacks do. He sits back in the pocket, throws. What Brady's done better, though, this is why the Patriots are better. Brady did work on his game last year, the offseason before last year, and he realized he was getting hit a little too much because he wasn't moving like he was earlier in his career. So he dedicated himself to footwork. And if you notice, and he had 2 great touchdown passes against Jacksonville, both in the red zone, where he avoided a rush, moved over here, created another 3 seconds of time, presto. So you know, call me a homer. I think the Patriots are, and I'd rather not see them, if you're asking me as someone that if I'm a fan watching the Patriots, I'd rather they not go 16-0 and deal with everything. But they're on that sort of a mission, and they're able to separate. Okay, we're on to Cincinnati. I like we're on to Cincinnati. whoever they're playing this week is we're on to Cincinnati. And that's the team, you remember, after they lost to Kansas City last year, the Patriots, Monday night, everyone said they're done. They're not a good football team. They're bad. It's over. And they asked Belichick that, and he said, we're on to Cincinnati. And if you remember, Cincinnati was 3-0, came into Foxborough favored. First time a team has been favored against the Patriots in 7 years at Foxborough, and the Patriots whooped them. And then they basically turned everything around. Lost only one game to Green Bay. In a nutshell, I think the only team that can beat the Patriots, and it's not a team, it's a quarterback, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's the only guy, he's special. In this Patriots cornerback position, other than Butler, who looks very good, it's Mickey Mouse, Larry, and Curly on the other side. And I believe Aaron Rodgers is the only guy that could expose that. The only thing is I think Brady can do it to the other team. Brady last week against, he did it really against Buffalo too. And let's go back to the Super Bowl. Last 2 drives against the best defense, someone said the last 20 years, the best defense, he scored 2 touchdowns when they were down 10 points and literally carved that defense up. And so I don't know. I don't see anyone, someone's, I think, will beat them. They might even lose 3 games. But I just don't, I think the Patriots are on a mission, and it's not normal, the mission.
Their defense is still suspect.
It's not a great defense, but it's a better defense than you think. What the Patriots do is, like when they play Denver, and that's going to be the game. It's at the end of November. I think it's after Thanksgiving, that Sunday, I believe, in Denver. And I think Denver's got a great defense, mediocre offense, and Peyton Manning, what we're seeing is different Peyton Manning. Lousy stats, but winning games at the end. So that's going to be interesting, because that's really, let's be honest, that's what quarterbacking is. That's what wins championships. Big plays, not fantasy touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, and beat Jacksonville 62-6, and then that's not what wins Super Bowls. So I'm going to be interested. This is a fun team. No, that's the wrong way to put it. The Patriots are never fun to cover. It's tough to get anything out of them, and they're boring as hell to talk to. The only guy is, Gronk, who acts like he's about 11 years old. And he's the one guy Belichick has no control over. I think I saw, Belichick wants to say something to him, just says, I can't. The guy's too good and he's too crazy. He really is. He's a 11-year-old kid and a 27-year-old body. But they are a fun team to cover in a sense that you know what you're going to get. And it's consistency. It's one of the most consistent franchises in the history of sport. You could argue the Celtics, those great Celtics teams. It's harder to win championships now with 32 teams. But you saw the Celtics, what they did under Auerbach and Bill Russell. I think we have to give it to them probably, but this is right there with them. Questions? Patriots. How much longer will it go? Well, Brady says he's going to play till, how old are you? Brady's going to play till he's 67.
So you can draw Social Security.
Brady's 38, and
He's saying he wants to play 4 or 5 more years.
he said even till he's 45. And I'll tell you, it's crazy to hear it, but he looks like, now he looks too skinny to me. I'm seeing him at a press conference, and he's too damn good looking. Take damn off the camera, please, when this is televised. But he's a good looking guy, and he takes care of himself, and he says that. Now 45 is, the only thing is, years ago, they didn't take care of themselves. So maybe 45 is the new 35, 45 is the, 35 is the new 45, or however you say it. But the point is, Brady's probably going to be around, I'll give him to 3 or 4 more years, which tells me poor Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to find another team. He's going to be all 30 before he gets his first chance. But that's a good point. And I think the better question is, how long is Belichick going to be there? Because, and I will say this, everyone always says it's Brady, we'll go Brady versus Manning. Brady's beat him 11-4. I think it's something like that. And they're going to play again this year. But let's be honest. it's really Belichick and Brady against Manning. I mean, it's an unfair fight. I mean, Manning is going against Belichick. That's really because I don't know what Belichick would do if he was going against Brady, but I know what he confuses Manning like no other, and so it's going to be interesting. Go ahead.
The good news in the paper this morning was on the obituary page with the age. There was a lot of obituaries, and almost all of them were a little bit either side of 90. One was 100.
Wow.
So that makes you all
So
feel
you guys
better.
are all going to be around a while.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
good to
be
see.
here.
All right.
Don't toss us out yet.
Yeah, all right, I'll leave you around. So you guys might see Brady. Yeah, Brady goes to 67. You guys will be around. Honestly, I think Brady and Belichick, it's a pact between the two of them. They don't, it's funny. I think people expect that they're best friends. They don't do that. Belichick does not do that with anybody. That's not his style. But they have a respect, and they meet once a week. They've been meeting once a week for 15 years. I mean, once a week. They have just Brady and Belichick, and they talk about the team, they talk about what they need to get accomplished, and they talk about the offense. But this is the head coach. Remember, Belichick doesn't run the offense, and he doesn't. He'll throw in his 2 cents, but it just shows you what their relationship is and how important it is, because it's Brady and Belichick, and in a lot of ways. And I think how long is this going to go? How long are those two going to be? Because I believe Belichick's on his game. Belichick, his kids are gone. He's not. He's divorced. I mean, he doesn't have anything. I think he's really become close to his kids. I see them around, and I know a couple of them. His daughter's a lacrosse coach at Holy Cross, I think. One son's an assistant with him. The other is around, but he's and I don't think he was 10, 15 years ago. Right now, he's very, very family oriented, and I just think he's about 64 years old. Again, 64, 20 years ago was old. 64 is not old. So I would say that's a good question. I'm thinking Belichick's going to be around probably 70s, maybe mid-70s. So I think as long as, and I think Kraft gives him the rope, it's your team.
Is it my impression, or is it a lot of turnover of personnel this year?
Yes, but it's all on secondary personnel.
Yeah.
It's not on the key guys. I think that's the NFL.
Seems like Wilfork went.
Well, Will Fork was at the end, and he
Yeah.
wanted the money,
Right.
and they're not paying the money. I mean, Belichick, and look, I would debate him, he would win the debate, but about Darrelle Revis. I never would have let Revis go, because I can only imagine with Butler and Revis, because Butler's the real deal.
Yeah.
In fact, first
I
of all,
wish he was about 3 inches taller though.
yeah, but Malcolm Butler, if you go back to, if you have the NFL Network, they show the Patriots Super Bowl with Seattle. One of the striking aspects of that game was, in the second half, Malcolm Butler, forget the play. That was,
Yeah.
never forget, he'll never buy a beer in Boston, okay? He'll never have to pay for a beer. He was the best player in the field other than Brady, the second half. Made plays, knocked down a couple passes, put 2 hits on Marshawn Lynch, and that's why I like him. He's not afraid to mix it up. They got a gem, and they stole him. He's an undrafted free agent from West Alabama. I didn't even know West Alabama had a college, okay? Division II school, and he went to, well, it's just a great story. But, so back to Darrelle Revis. Darrelle Revis, it would have been guaranteeing $39 million. Now, his reasoning is going to be, we think Darrelle Revis would have been great for 1 or 2 more years, but his decline is going to happen. And then the third and fourth, or the fourth and fifth year, we would be paying him, and we would not be able to get other players because of him, and we would be 5-11. And he's not going to be 5-11. We're going to be 11-5 every year, and we're going to compete for a championship. When Bob Kraft bought the team, one of the first press conferences he had, he said, we want to be like the San Francisco 49ers, which over 20 years were competed for, they won 5 Super Bowls, and 4 of them by Montana. And it was, we want to compete every year. We don't want to go for it. Belichick has always said, one of his first press conferences, when he met with 6, he had, not a press conference, he had 6 media at the table. And he said, I'm not mortgaging the future to win now. We will never do that in New England. Now, I say, okay, but you got Brady. You have 2 or 3 more years of Brady. Let's say 3 is a lot. Why not have Revis with them and then win? If they have Revis, they're the favorites right now to win the championship this year. But they don't look at it that way. So, and he thinks he can develop guys like Butler. So, but that's the one issue. It's defensive. See, I question Aaron Rodgers. I think is the only guy that would scare me. I think the Patriots beat every other team in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers is the real deal. Green Bay is a very good team. Brady might do it to their offense, their defense too. But it's going to be interesting.
I like to see numbers and statistics. I would like to see someone compare second half statistic to first half statistic, say for a whole year.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see how they come out, because I always think the excellent coaching job comes in the second half for the Patriots.
Yes.
I think it'd be way weighted.
No, I think you are right. Those stats are available. The
Are
only
they available?
the only thing is you gotta sort of work them.
I'm lazy, I don't wanna think about it, I wanna read it.
The one thing about the Patriots is, and the reason why those stats aren't as important, I think, is the Patriots' goal is, and it's one thing I've learned about Belichick and coaching, watching Belichick, is his goal is to take control of the game and then dictate the game. So like, you want to throw the ball, and what he does is, I want you to run the ball. I don't want you to throw it because you want to throw it. And what they do is get up by 2 scores, 10 points. And then we'll play, we get the 10-point lead, and then we'll play giveaway. You get your 3, we get 7. You get 7, we get 3. And we're still in control. You got your points, fine. We're just not gonna let you, and offensively, this year could be different because of this revenge tour they're on. But the Patriots, like they did against Pittsburgh, they're up 28-14. Pittsburgh got a late touchdown last play of the game. Buffalo, they were up 37-13. Buffalo scored all those cheap touchdowns. Again, Patriots were in control. It was getting scary. It was getting scary. And with Jacksonville, it never happened because they just kept scoring. But if you ask me, the only reason why those stats for me for the Pats don't work is because he only cares about winning.
Right, that's how we get to make them so they're less valued than you put.
Right. So like, it looks like the Pats are a lousy second half team.
No, I think they look.
Well, offensively they look good, but defensively they give up most of their touchdowns in the fourth quarter when the game doesn't matter. So the stats aren't going to look as good.
Yeah.
I mean, Buffalo scored 21 points fourth quarter. Pittsburgh scored 14 points fourth quarter. And Jacksonville scored 10 points in the fourth quarter, but they were all meaningless, you know.
The person they just picked up, Bostic,
Yes.
is that of any value?
Solid guy, yeah. I don't know what, Chicago's just looking to dump some salary and guys that, they had another, he was fighting for time. He did start 3 games, but they said it was looking like he was gonna, he was probably, no, they had to get rid of bodies. And he's a potential contract guy a year from now. So, it was like, easy. And, Pats are probably going to play him. Remember, last year they picked up 2 guys from Tampa Bay, Akeem Ayers and another guy from, who's the other guy from Kansas City? Name escapes me. Both guys, both in the Super Bowl, made 2 plays. So, I mean, yeah, this guy's coming in cheap, not going to cost a lot of money, and he's going to probably start borderline play, sort of pass rushing outside linebacker, which is sort of what they need, at least depth. So if a guy gets hurt, that's a problem. With a lot of the NFL, a lot of these guys get hurt, they have no one else. Patriots their depth. Defense is not great, but they have, 2 extra linebackers. We get Gerard Mayo, who's right now making probably a lot more money than he should be. He's playing, 10-20% of the downs because they don't need him right now. They're in a good position right now, the Patriots, to withstand an injury or 2. I mean, Dallas, who they're playing this week, just lost their best linebacker for a concussion. So he's out probably when he plays the Patriots. So they lost their quarterback, their best receiver, and their best defensive player.
And their punt returner.
Well, the punt return too. Wow, that
He's
was
out for the year.
Isn't that amazing? I mean,
Yeah.
and the Patriots right now, the report came out today, they talked about the report on Monday, it's coming out tomorrow, that looks like everyone's healthy.
Yeah.
Does that include Stork?
Stork's on the IR, sorry, he's not gonna be back for another 2 weeks. But Wendell's back, looks like Wendell's gonna be back Wednesday. He'll be on the report and healthy, ready to play, which means they have their center, in Stork, or right guard, in fact, it's like the three rookies on the line. I mean, think about that. 3 rookies, a 6th rounder, 3rd rounder, and an undrafted free agent are manning the front 3 positions in front of Brady. And Brady's been, I don't want to say he's been untouched, but he's been untouched. Question?
The rest of the football world outside of New England, are they still riled up about the deflated?
Yeah, and it's meaningless. Like, here's the thing. Listen, I talked to, and this is not for video. I know a referee, and in the NFL, and he said, this is a joke. The NFL doesn't care, has never cared about footballs for quarterbacks. Now, to some extent, when I say never, kickers are different. Now, kickers, it's funny, this is what the referee said. The referees look at kickers as criminals. They heat balls, they rub them with illegal rubber, they do all this illegal, they do everything. And they put them in microwave ovens right before, give me the ball. So that's why the NFL has hired there's at every park, there's 2 guys that hand balls for kicking. And if you notice, kickers get the ball, they're shiny, and they decompress them. Because over the years, I guess the stories are great what the kickers have done to balls. They'll do anything to get the ball, obviously, to fly a little better. Quarterbacks are different. Fans like touchdowns. Fantasy football wants points scored. And they look at balls, the referees, before the game, and if they look a little deflated or inflated, they'll take a little air out and they throw them in. One of the referees, this is another referee, told me this at the Super Bowl. He said that Peyton Manning says, gives them the balls and says, you don't touch my balls. And these referees, okay. And the NFL doesn't care. So that's the irony. The NFL never cared. What happened was the Ravens, the Colts, and the Jets did care. And they said the Patriots are screwing around with the balls, and I don't know if there was a deflated ball in the Ravens game. The Ravens hate the Patriots. We know that. And why? Well, they've cost them 2 or 3 Super Bowls over the last 6-7 years. And that I don't think they'll ever get over the illegal shift. No, the guy that can't go out. He's illegal. Yeah, guy can't go out for a pass. You can't cover him, and it's sent everyone. I mean, the Patriots literally got back in the game because of that rule, which they're the only team that knew it.
That's when Brady made the comment that the coach would read the rule book.
Yes, read the rule book. And so
that
they took that personal. So, oh, really, Brady? Well, we're going to get you next week on the deflated balls. Because they told the Colts, watch out for the deflated balls, apparently. But that being said, so the initial question, I think, is Deflategate going to affect the Patriots, and does it affect the Patriots? Well, since the balls have been checked, Brady's thrown for 78%, which is the highest percentage of his career. And we go back to the second half of the Colt game, the Super Bowl. In these 3 games, it's been the best 4.5 game run of Brady's career. He had one run like this in 2007, but this one is slightly better in 2 categories. So
It's not so much they're after the Patriots or Brady, they're after Belichick. They're
yeah,
still
it's
ticked
funny.
at him
It's funny you say that, because that was the impetus of my story. Brady was the consolation prize.
Yeah.
They want Belichick. Oh, that arrogant guy! They want him.
Well, you take some of the conversations you had about baseball
Yes.
with the owners meddling in the selection.
Yeah.
Imagine us sitting down with the 32 owners of the football teams. You know what kind of personalities you got there?
Yeah.
Like that guy that owns the Dallas Cowboys.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
They hate the Patriots. They don't understand
Hate.
this.
Hate.
Patriots are contenders for 15 years, and they can't get their teams to contend like
Right.
this.
Well,
They
listen,
want that torn apart.
here's a great stat. Since Belichick has been coaching the Patriots, the other 3 teams in the AFC East have had 21 coaches.
Yeah.
So 7 coaches per team. Think about that.
Is it up to 22 now with the new guy with Miami?
You know what? 22. It's 22. That's right. It is 22. So, yeah, it's you know, jealousy is a strong word, but there's a sense where they don't like, and that's what happens. We didn't like the Yankees. You know, it used to bug me
Yeah.
when you go to Fenway Park and the fans say Yankees bleep, Really? Yeah, but that's what it is, because they don't bleep. They're damn good, and that's why you're saying it, because you're jealous.
That's right.
You know. Couple more questions?
How about the Bruins again?
Gonna be interesting. It's funny. I'm going down. Believe it or not, today. I'm going today. In fact, at 11:30 down to Wilmington. Yeah, the Bruins are going to be interesting. Here's what we're going to see. I guess what we're seeing with Don Sweeney, the new general manager, is fight. A little more fight, and that doesn't mean punches per se. It will mean punches, but we're going to fight for this now, and we didn't last year, and really for a couple of years. Very passive team. But they were one of the most disappointing teams to watch.
You weren't the big bad Bruins.
No, and it's in our blood. It's like Pittsburgh Steelers. They like linebackers that excuse my French, decapitate people. And they like, that's what, we're bred on the Bruins, hitting. And I just can't understand when a guy goes in the corner and doesn't get hit. We've been brought up to watch the Bruins.
They're contact sports.
And we haven't seen that with the Bruins. And you asked me how I think the Bruins are gonna be. They have up, the top tier talent is very good. I believe David Krejci's the key. I've said when he's good, the Bruins are the best team in the NFL and the NHL. Now, they also have goaltending and defense. I'm not saying he's the centerpiece, but when they need goals, the problem with the Bruins is they seem to need a goal, and he disappeared. He was injured half the year, but he's been dealing with this for a couple of years. He went through a whole playoffs a couple of years ago with 3 points in 10, 12 games. David Krejci, when he's your superstar offensively, and that's the one thing they've been missing. But I think we're gonna like what we see. I think Bergeron's one of my favorite athletes that I've covered. I've been around him. Ray Bork's #1. He's right there. Classy guy, good guy. But I want to see the Bruins fight, and they lost that. Look, they did go back to the Cup the year after they won, or 2 years after they won. They went and they lost to Chicago, and they were up 3-2, 2-1, and it looked like they're going to go up 3-1, and they blew that game in overtime. Like they got the goaltending. Tuukka hasn't been great in pressure situations, but I don't know. I like the fight aspect, because that's what I've been saying for a couple of years. I just can't handle them not fighting and wanting to win. It seems like they didn't care about losing. So we're going to see
They
it.
just signed a backup goalie?
Yeah, sign a backup goalie, and he's decent. He's a guy that can play. They haven't had a backup goalie for 2 or 3 years, because Rask can't play 70 games. He's got to play 56 to 60 tops. So.
What about the Celtics?
I think they mixed it up pretty good in the preseason, which
Yeah, they did.
is good.
But it's a preseason, and I think Rask wanted the time off. Celtics, good question.
They should be able to compete in their division.
Yeah, the Celtics are going to be interesting because they're young, they're exciting. We're only going to put up with young and exciting for a couple of years. They've been that now for a while. The one thing is, they have the opportunity next year to bring in 2 superstars. So this year is going to be, we're going to keep 3 or 4 of the guys. The rest are gone. We're going to, look, everyone's talking about this Kevin Durant going to Lakers. I think Kevin Durant might come to the Celtics.
I love him.
Well, I think he's coming, and they got room for another one too. So, and Danny Ainge was very close with him before the draft. Remember when the Celtics were almost gonna have an opportunity to draft him. They didn't, because he was gone by then. But he got close with the mother, and you know, when you get close with someone's mom, you know, you win a lot of points. Come on, guys, you and your wives, you know, you went with the mom. You got the mom first. You know the deal. Kevin Durant, gonna be interesting. So the Celtics, tough, good coach. I think most of us liked what we saw. But we don't, 42 wins can be boring if you win 42 every year. So it's because I think that's the kind of team they are. Maybe even a little better. They brought in a couple guys too. Amir Johnson, he's a very good player, tough guy they got from Toronto, and David Lee from Golden State was a 6th, 7th man there. Is going to be probably a 3rd or 4th man here. But it's funny, 3 teams going through rebuilding: Red Sox, Celtics, and Bruins. Sort of a rebuilding. Not really, because the Bruins I think are going to be very good this year, and I think that the Red Sox are too. Celtics though, we've let them off the hook, so we're going to see maybe one more year. But next year's a year because they're going to have opportunity to bring in 2 big free agents if they come, because they haven't come yet. All right, guys. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.